Love them or hate them, snorkels do a great job of providing your engine with clean air, especially when you have a pre-filter. Watch this video to learn how to install a Dobinson's ARB or eBay 4th Gen 4Runner snorkel. Or better yet, save your money and buy it from my Amazon store, SCX Outdoors. Link below. This is also the best way you can support the channel. I imported snorkels from the same factory that supplies the name brands, and it's the exact same product. And instead of overcharging, I have them listed at just over $200 compared to the $400 to $600 for the brand name or closer to $300 for the eBay ones. I'd say it's a decent deal. When I open the box, I always take a look at the hardware and get it organized. Start by inserting the threaded studs using the included Loctite. Don't be alarmed if it comes with a few extra studs. Use an Allen wrench to tighten them down, but be sure not to over tighten these to prevent dislodging the embedded nut. This rubber spacer is only necessary for the 03 to 05 4th gens, and as you'll see in other snorkel videos, like for the Dobinsons, this rubber, the set anchors on it are not actually positioned correctly, so you probably gotta cut one of them off, and the rubber also needs to be trimmed around the outside too. I have a 2006, so I didn't need to use it. If you do need to use it, use some Ultra Black to help it adhere to the snorkel and keep it in place. You can find Ultra Black in my affiliate link below. There's plastic pins holding the fender liner up that need to be removed. Grab pliers, squeeze the plastic clips, and push down while you have a hold on the clip. It can be a little tricky, especially on the rear one, but I believe in you. Next, remove the bolts holding the edge of the fender liner in. I have a steel front bumper, so I don't have much fender liner to work with. Just know you need to be able to pull it down enough to get your hands and arms up in there later. Also, if you haven't seen it, check out my bumper video fitting a Hook Road 2nd Gen Tacoma bumper to my 4th Gen. It's a super easy project and the bumpers are super affordable. I'm talking $400 to $500. I screwed up and taped the template on before laying down the tape on the fender. It's a good idea to cover the area in tape first to help keep your cuts and drilled holes clean. Use a marker to trace the cutouts and put the dots everywhere you need to drill holes for the threaded studs. Use a punch, then a small drill bit to make your pilot holes. I measured the studs at 5/16, so I grabbed a step bit and taped it just above the 5/16 mark to make it easy to know where to stop. Link below to the bits I use. I measured the snorkel opening at 3.5 inches wide. I would normally use the correct size that fits perfect, but I already had a 4.5 inch hole saw on hand, and there's no harm in having a little extra space to work with. It actually helped for the install. Also, hole saws are kind of expensive sometimes at that size, so I didn't want to have to go out and buy another one. The 4Runner fender is like an ogre. It has layers, like an onion too. So there's a couple layers of sheet to drill and saw through. This was definitely the most nerve-wracking part, but it turned out perfect. After drilling the 2 holes, I used a jigsaw to cut out the space between the holes, then filed down the burrs. This is also a good time to check fitment on all your mounting holes. I had to make a couple of the holes bigger to accommodate some of my inaccuracy while drilling. I drilled out all the stud holes, then painted all the exposed metal to help prevent rust. Now use tape to prepare the passenger A-pillar for drilling, just like we did on the fender. Put the pillar mounting bracket on the snorkel and set the snorkel in place to mark the bracket's location on the pillar. And this also is where my mistake helps you. I didn't have anyone to tell me better or to help me hold the snorkel up while I test fit and open the door. You can see I traced the bracket just to the left from the center of the pillar. You'll want it at least an inch to the right of where I put it to prevent clearance issues with your door. More on this later. I measured the rivets for the pillar bracket at 5/32. If you don't have that size bit, you could probably get away with a 3/16 too. Your step bit will likely have 3/16 on it. Again, start with a punch and pilot holes, then your final drill bit, and paint the holes after. I picked up this rivet gun for cheap on Amazon, and it worked great. Link below. I know I keep saying link below to remind you that I have affiliate links, but I promise I would never recommend something that I wouldn't use myself. And using my affiliate links and Amazon storefront is absolutely the best way to support the channel and keep it alive. So big thank you if you do. The rivet gun comes with different size tips and also rivets, but we don't need to use those right now. So use the rivets included with the snorkel to find the right size tip and swap it out. You can't be too careful with rust prevention, so I put some Ultra Black in the holes before riveting the bracket on. I also put the Ultra Black on the rivets. The rivets feel like they're too long to fit, which was concerning at first, but if you start the rivet, then reset the tool and pull the rivet again, it'll suck itself in just right. then more ultra black to seal around the bracket to prevent water from getting trapped under the bracket over time. This will also all be hidden by the snorkel anyway. Now remove the airbox. The hardest part here is finding your 10mm. Those suckers can disappear right in your hand while you're holding them. I actually have a new single out on all the streaming platforms about this exact phenomenon, so check it out under the artist name Emo Mechanic, or check it in the link below. Now remove the airbox and cut off the scooped section of it. I used a Dremel that I bought off of Amazon, but you can use whatever you want that cuts. A hot knife, an angle grinder. By the way, I also have some cut-off wheels for sale on Amazon that I imported also. You could even use a utility knife with a torch as a makeshift hot knife. This is somewhat debated as right or wrong, but I sealed up the drain holes in the airbox to prevent water from coming up through the engine bay. The Snorkel's design does prevent water from making it down, and even more so if you have a pre-filter like I do. So I'm not worried about rain. I tried putting the fender hose in the fender first, but it's definitely easier to put it on the Snorkel first. Use some Ultra Black or whatever good silicone you have to seal it, and use the included hose clamp to secure it. If you tighten the hose clamp too much, it can cause the hose to want to slip off from the pressure. So be sure to hold it for a couple minutes to let the silicone set and make sure it's not falling off. Now put the Snorkel on and fish that hose through the fender. Remember when I talked about the issue with the A-pillar bracket position? I didn't place it right, so at first my door was rubbing on the Snorkel, but nothing can stop us. That's why we're always prepared. To fix it without removing the bracket and drilling new holes and ruining our rivets, I raised the Snorkel away from the pillar a few millimeters. To do this, I cut the top of the bracket mounting holes and placed the cut pieces in the bottom of those holes, effectively using them as a spacer, and using Ultra Black to help keep them in place. Then the bolts rested on top of those little spacers, and it fixed the rubbing issue. Again, you'll want your A-pillar mounting bracket at least an inch to the right of where I placed mine. Now for the time when I said you'll be reaching your hands and arms up into the fender. You can use the included washers and nuts to bolt the Snorkel to the fender. This can definitely be tricky to get a couple of the ones that are further up in there, but like before, I believe in you. Before you button up the fender liner, take a look at that hose in the fender to make sure it's still positioned correctly. Now put the hose adapter onto that cut portion of the airbox using Ultra Black to seal it. Then put the hose clamp on the fender hose, and again, using Ultra Black, insert the airbox and its adapter into the fender hose. Then bolt down the airbox using the impossible to find 10mm, and check out the song.
Search the drawers and the toolbox too, but they disappear like the morning dew. Is there a black hole for my tools, or am I just a hopeless fool?
Last thing is to hose clamp your Snorkel head on and reattach your fender liner. I did also put the $20 pre-filter that I use in the link below. It's not necessary, and I actually don't think it looks as good, but it definitely works. It has caught a lot of water and dirt over the months. Now your install is complete. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments below. If my Snorkel is out of stock, I promise there will be more coming soon. And if you can't wait, then head over to eBay and get them there, because you can save a few bucks compared to buying the name brand ones. And they're probably exactly the same. Thank you all so much for watching. See you on the next one.
Where's my 10mm? Where's my 10mm? Where's my 10mm? Do you have my 10mm?